Welcome to the MBPI Home Inspection Network. Today, the MBPI Home Inspection Network talks with Bonnie Lai about the offer process. This is Todd Whiting from Metro Boston Property Inspections Home Inspection Network, and today we're talking to Bonnie Lai from RE/MAX Unlimited in Brookline. Bonnie is a very successful real estate agent. Bonnie, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So prior to being in the real estate business, I was in accounting for 6 years, and prior to that, I was a music educator in the public schools. So for a few more years before then, but I've been a music educator basically, all my life. So right now I'm still teaching, but as a full-time real estate agent, I've been a realtor for about 4 years. So I really like what I do is because, I'm from Hong Kong originally. So real estate is practically our culture. So I really like what I do. I really see myself retiring doing this, with Elias' help. Maybe I'll, achieve financial stability.
Independence.
Yeah, independence. That's the word you use. Yeah. So yeah, this is my 4th year and has been a great year so far. I've done about like 10 million. I broke 10 million this year for the first time ever.
Fantastic.
So I'm very excited.
So today you wanted to talk a little about the process leading up to an offer and after that. And first question I have is, how does financing work? How does a buyer secure or prove that they have the ability to get financing?
Sure. So a lot of the buyers that came to me, they're like first-time home buyers. So the first thing I tell them to do is to refer them to kind of like listen to their financial situation currently, so I can get a better sense of what kind of financing they would need. And since I have a lot of contacts through like ARIA and like just being in the business for a while in general, I have a lot of lenders contact where I know that specific lender will be better for certain buyers. For example, for first-time home buyer loans, I will know exactly where to send them. If they're like investor who is looking to flips, then I'll send them to another different lender, like who have like more suitable program for them. So we always start with financing first, see how much you can qualify for before we go out shopping, so we know what our budget is.
So in today's market with such limited inventory, how does a buyer go about putting in an offer?
I'm sorry, like you froze a little bit. You're not moving.
So how does a buyer go? How does a buyer go about putting in an offer?
Yeah. So normally we'll, I'll educate my buyers to make sure that they know exactly which areas that is, fit into the budget and their needs. So sometimes, you just need to look at the fact you can dream what you dream, but at the end of the day is how much money do you have, and where can you be competitive so we can actually help the buyers win the bids. After we know exactly where they should look, then I always tell them to like go drive around, get to know the neighborhood that they're investing in or buying in, just so they can get a better idea where they will end up in a home where they want to be, not necessarily just a perfect home, but in the wrong location or revised, and etc. So once they find the right home, then we'll put in an offer. Usually it will take a day to hear back and finalize if you get accepted offer or not. And once you do, then that's when I call Todd, and schedule. So even if they waive inspection nowadays, I will still tell them to try to do an informational inspection. That means, or even before the offer is being put down, usually I might even suggest to bring out a team to inspector to go look at the home before you put in an offer, so you can waive the inspection contingency to stay a little more competitive.
So I have a little bit of a spin-off of this. If somebody likes a neighborhood, but the houses that are available are smaller than what they're looking for, provided they can add on, would you recommend they look at those houses?
Absolutely. It depends on the buyer. Some people just don't want to do any work. In that case, then they do want something that's move-in ready. But if there's some, buyers who are like handy as you, then maybe they don't mind doing the work later on and expand when they have the funding later on.
My wife and I bought a 700 square foot house and made it a 2,300 square foot house.
There you go. See, there you go. But not a lot of people are willing to put that kind of work into it.
Yeah.
But for people who have very limited budget but still want to buy in a great location, I definitely think that is a really good route. For example, I have buyers who say I must have 2 bathrooms, but this perfect house only have 1. What do I do? I'm like, well, add 1 later. So I tell them not to just like rule out anything until they've seen the home themselves.
So how does the offer timeline works once accepted? What happens next once the offer is accepted?
Yeah, so once it's accepted, usually again, like we'll do the inspection within the first 10 days or a week. Generally, the tighter the tighter the deadlines, the better it is that it looks for the seller. So normally we try to do it within 10 days, and after that we'll sign a PNS, basically 3 days, 2 or 3 days after that. And once you sign the purchase and sale, then the lender, you will need to apply for your loan directly with the lender basically the day after that. And then from then on, it should take only less than 30 days to close after that. And then the bank would send out the appraiser to make sure that the buyer didn't overpay too much. In this market, it's pretty common that people have to overbid. But in this economy, since everyone else is doing it, then I've run into maybe 2 appraisal problem this year. But at the end of the day, the seller and buyer were able to work it out at the end so that they would still go through.
Okay, so what does it mean when somebody chooses to waive their home inspection?
I normally don't suggest that, especially if you're buying a single family, multifamily, or even a townhouse, because you basically own the problem once you take over. I noticed that most of the people who are willing to waive inspections are the condos, maybe like a 1-bed, 2-bed. So they generally feel like, oh, maybe you're not going to find a lot, so they feel a little more at ease to do the inspection after they sign the purchase and sale, for example, and maybe just do the informational inspection instead of like making it into a contingency.
So one question I've always had about that is, can a seller say they'll only entertain offers that waive the inspection? They can actually come out and say it.
Well, I don't think legally, you can't really make that clear, but I think once the offer started to come in, the buyer agent can always ask the seller agent what kind of offers you have to table. And that's why I'm just so easy to work with. I always talk to the seller agent, kind of like they usually
everyone loves you.
Yeah, I usually able to like extract information that's useful for my buyers, and that's why I think I win bids a lot, is because I think the seller agents usually like working with me, and so I usually just ask them if there's any offer that's already waive inspections, and it really all depends on the buyers, like how comfortable they are waiving it. There are definitely times that my buyers would not do it no matter what. Then we would just have to move to like areas that is less competitive, so yet they can still do the inspection. It's really ultimately, it's not my decision. I can give a recommendation, but it's the buyer's choice at the end.
All right. So talk to me a little bit about the importance to buy title insurance. I know that real estate attorneys really push it. And I have friends that say that the only reason real estate attorneys push it is because it's the way the real estate attorney really makes money on the transaction.
Well, I'm biased about that, but I can tell you that you do need it. It's because, the bank is already requiring you to get it. No matter what, if you need financing, you have to get it anyway. But the one that they require you to get only protect the bank and not the buyers itself. Right. So, and if you want to buy like title insurance after you close, it's going to cost you a lot more. So it makes a lot more sense to protect yourself and the bank at the same time, because you will get a much better deal. And I've seen, you have no idea, we just took a class at ARIA talking about title insurance. Specifically, why you should not waive is because people can mix like little mistake, like misspell your name wrong. Like a lot of mistakes can be made just by recording it incorrectly. I mean, there's so many examples out there. If you don't have title insurance, then the cost to fix it is going to be a lot more than, it's not worth the risk. So I always tell my buyers to just do it.
Now, relatively speaking,
And yeah, the attorney needs to make the money. So either way, I think it's a system that works.
at the end of the day, it's not that big an expense. It's based on the value of the home, but it's a one-time expense, if I understand it correctly. You
That's
purchase
correct.
it when you buy the home, and it's not an ongoing expense. You don't pay it year after year.
Yeah,
You
that's
pay
correct.
it up front and you're done.
Yeah, it's just like the homestead. You would just do it at the same time. There's no reason why you shouldn't do the homestead. And the title insurance is the same thing. I mean, I've had a buyer arguing with the husband, literally like at closing, about buying the title insurance or not. They were kind of like nickel picking, saying that, oh, the other insurance company might have a better price. So I do suggest that if you do want to like compare the price, just do it before the closing, so you don't need to suffer a 4-hour closing because you can't get your ideas together.
You just mentioned something else that a new home buyer should be aware of, and that's a homestead.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how that helps the buyer protect the home after they've closed?
Yeah. So I'm not an attorney, but the way I understand it is that like if you own that primary residence and someone want to sue you, they can potentially come after your home. But if you have the homestead, you're protected up to 500K. I think if it's for a couple, it's 500K. If it's one person, it's 250. That's how I understand it. But then you go verify with an attorney. So let's just say if someone want to sue you for $1 million, then they can still potentially make you sell your home to make a difference. But at least your first 500K will be protected. You'll be stupid not to get it. I think it costs like almost nothing.
Yeah,
it's like $30 or something.
Last I knew it was $75.
Yeah, it's so cheap. Yeah, there's no sense to not get it.
Oh. All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope we can do this again. This is Todd Whiting from MBPI Home Inspection Network, talking with Bonnie Lai about the offer.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for your time, Todd. Okay, bye.
Don't go anywhere. Thank you for watching the MBPI Home Inspection Network.